Welcome to Undercomplicating Stuff, where we, two psychologists and coaches with a combined 40 years of experience, share our insights to help undercomplicate important topics. A friendly reminder that this video is meant for conversational and entertainment purposes only. Please see the information section of this video for additional resources. Dr. Gedeon, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Julie. I'm Stacey Gedeon. I'm a health psychologist and the founder and CEO of a healthcare consulting and professional coaching business. And how about you, Dr. Radico?
I'm Julie Radico. I'm a psychologist, a coach, an author, and a speaker. Our question today is, what are some self-compassion strategies? So I'm mindful as we talk about this topic, there's a lot of great work out there on self-compassion. So I encourage listeners to look for resources. For example, Dr. Kristen Neff is a great resource. She's got books and writings and videos that you can watch to learn a little bit more about this topic that we're going to do a conversation around today. Dr. Gedeon, what what would you say if somebody asked, what is self-compassion? Like, how would you start us off?
It's really the deliberate practice of offering yourself the same kindness that you would offer to a loved one in a similar situation.
Mm,
And it's not self-pity, it's not putting yourself down or letting yourself off the hook. It actually is a way to strengthen your resilience and to learn how to manage complex, difficult situations, setbacks in ways that are productive and don't further make you kind of feel worse or even go down a path that you're just not going to a good place on in your head. So, learning from your mistakes is really critical, and self-compassion allows you to learn from them versus being paralyzed by them.
I think of self-compassion, just as you're saying, as this like radical self-kindness and recognizing that you are human and you are gonna make mistakes. And rather than letting those mistakes weigh you down and make you then doubt yourself or feel like you're not worth trying again. Self-compassion is giving yourself that kindness that you would give to a loved one. I know we've talked about this, and you've given a really great question around like, what would you say to a grandchild? What would you say to, to somebody you cared about if you heard them criticizing themselves, saying like, yeah, I messed up that thing and now I am worthless, or I don't deserve another chance, or I don't know why anybody would be friends with me. Stopping and catching how intensely negative that kind of thinking is. And one of the questions you can ask yourself is like, what would you say to a loved one? What would you say? Would you say that to your grandchild? If you would not, and for all the reasons you wouldn't with them, then just being really aware and kind to yourself and not letting that kind of negative stuff spiral in your own head.
It allows us to give ourselves some perspective on things. We're doing the best we can, assuming that we do take responsibility. We're not saying you're ignoring things, but really acknowledging them, learning from them, and growing ideally and moving forward with things. Some strategies is asking yourself, okay, will this matter a month from now? Will this situation matter a year from now, 5 years from now? And that really can kind of help put it in perspective in case you're thinking, oh my gosh, I messed up so badly. This will never right itself. I can't come back from that. And so being able to have that perspective on it and not let it take over is another
Mhm.
thing that can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. There are things that we might really be critical of ourselves around that might not even matter tomorrow,
Mhm.
but our minds make them feel like they're so big and they're so detrimental to how we view ourselves. It's a fantastic question to give yourself some permission to take perspective. How much will this matter 50 years from now,
Yeah.
10 years from now, tomorrow? And sometimes you might say, "Oh, this is going to ripple. This is a big mistake that I think will carry through with me." And that's even more reason to do the work about checking how you're talking to yourself around it. Is there negative stuff taking over your thoughts? As well as another strategy of forgiving yourself,
Mhm.
like giving yourself this compassion of you are a human and yeah, you might have messed up. All humans do. It's
Hmm.
what we do. Can you learn from it? Can you make repairs? Can you figure out what you want to do differently in the future and how you would handle it in a whole different way? Not getting stuck in the blame, shame, guilt spiral and being kinder to yourself with meeting yourself where you're at. So part of self-compassion is this mindfulness piece of
Hmm.
meeting yourself in the present moment, like being aware of what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and trying not to judge yourself. And I'm mindful we could talk about strategies around mindfulness. Like, what might you encourage people to do if they wanted to be mindful in situations where they feel like their thoughts keep carrying themselves to this negative, judgmental, spirally of like non-self-compassion kind of place? How would you tell them to take a moment?
Yeah, so if we think about a definition of mindfulness as being in the present moment without judgment and on purpose, we can create mindful moments, or I like to call them mini mindful moments, all day long.
Mhm.
And so it could be something that maybe you tie into an activity you do a lot. So while you're brushing your teeth, if you really focus on the temperature of the water, the taste of the toothpaste, the sensation of the bristles in your mouth, that is a mindful moment. You can also do things. One of my favorites is my first sip of coffee in the morning, really focusing on the taste, the smell, the temperature, and just noticing. Also, washing your hands is another one that just notice the temperature of the water, the bubbles, the smell of the soap. Those are things that we can do all day long to kind of bring us back into the present when our mind seems to be going down a path that really isn't particularly productive.
Mindfulness is a really great tool for self-compassion because self-compassion, when we're not engaged in it, is we might be on autopilot, going about our days, doing things and not really paying attention to what we're doing because we're all up in our heads thinking about worries, thinking about judgments, saying, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or I wish I hadn't done that, or that's awful, or I'll never get over this, all the spiral of negative stuff. So mindfulness, like you're saying, gives us this check-in, and I think about it in our five senses. So when you're brushing your teeth, when you're sipping your first sip of coffee, can you pay attention to exactly like you're saying, Stacey, like how does the coffee smell? How does it feel on your tongue? What does it taste like? What is the, if you have any jewelry on, like what is the sound of the cup when you pick it up? What does it feel like? What is the warmth? And a really important part of this is not judging it. Because you might be like, oh yeah, I heard a clink from my wedding ring and now I'm, thinking all about this other stuff. Try to pull yourself back. Or, oh yeah, I noticed there's a chip in the mug and it's been my favorite mug and now I think I need to get a new one. Pull yourself back. The practice of mindfulness is just that. It's a practice to continually, non-judgmentally pull yourself back to trying to focus on the present moment. So that non-judgment counts for everything you do in that practice. Don't judge yourself if your mind wanders. Don't judge what you're seeing. Think about those mindfulness moments. I love that saying. It's a little mini break throughout your day to relieve yourself of the pressure of the guilt or blame or shame or negative spiral that you're on.
In addition to that, you can build it in throughout your day to help with resilience, but also to your point, when a thought comes in that maybe you're perseverating on and beating yourself up over, that is also a cue to say, okay, I'm going to take a mindful moment in whatever you're doing.
Mm,
And I often explain to people, think of it, our brains are kind of like little puppies. You'll try to be mindful on something, like you said, a
mhm,
practice.
mhm,
Your brain will trail off and you just gently bring it back and it'll trail. Okay. And
mm.
you just gently bring it back. And to your point about noticing, your example of maybe a chip in the coffee mug, noticing is great. You can notice it and then trying not to judge it or go down the spiral of, oh, where did I get this coffee mug from? Maybe I could get it, when you notice that, when your little puppy brain is kind of going off on a trail, just gently bring it back and bring it back and bring it back again and again.
Yeah, be compassionate to yourself in the way you would like an adorable little puppy. It's another beautiful example of how we want to be kind to ourselves. My takeaway is to pull in the humanity aspect of self-compassion. You are a human being. You will mess up. Welcome to the club. And how you treat yourself and how you compare yourself to other people based on those mistakes can really hinder how you cope or improve how you are coping and being kind to yourself. So I encourage in the way that it's still really focused on you, pull in if you can find pockets of inspiration from other people around you who've also had struggles or who've messed up in other ways or similar ways to how you feel like you have, that you're struggling to be compassionate about yourself, like for. Pull in, well, how did that person navigate that? How did they overcome that? What were the resilience kinds of things that they were doing for themselves? Were they harnessing their support group? Were they continuing to try? Were they not giving up on themselves? Were they taking care of themselves? Were they resting? Whatever it might be. And it might be a combination of that and more. But you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel to figure out how to get out of a shame spiral or this judgment zone. Learn from the people around you that you admire or respect. That could include looking at and drawing on the strengths that you see from people who've struggled and overcome that kind of stuff in the media. And so don't feel like you have to do self-compassion on your own. Like harness your supports, be one of those supports, like be a support for yourself, but also like ask for others to help you if you know you're getting stuck in a negative space or a negative spiral.
My takeaway would be when you think of self-compassion, it's not self-pity. It's actually a strength. It's something that will help you to be resilient, will help you grow, will help you recover, and stay grounded, as we've talked about. And so it's something that we all need to really get better at.
100%. Yeah. So if this topic resonated with you, please share it with somebody that you care about. Also, please comment, like, and subscribe. You can message us on our LinkedIn and our YouTube channels with questions that you'd like us to talk about in the future.